It's Ken Harbaugh with the MeidasTouch Network. Yesterday, January 6th, a group of insurrectionists gathered at the Capitol on the 5-year anniversary of their violent attempt to end our democracy. They were there not as an act of contrition or remembrance, but to demand, among other things, compensation from the federal government, from us. They want to be paid for the hardships they endured during their prosecutions and imprisonment before Donald Trump pardoned them. Right now, there is a concerted attempt to rewrite the history of that day, to cast the insurrectionists as either heroes for standing with Donald Trump or victims for having been framed by the FBI, or both. There's no logical coherence to the narrative, except that every aspect of it rests on grievance, which, as you've heard me say, has become the entire animating force of the MAGA movement. Now, some of those same rioters, those pardoned ex-felons, are being rewarded for their attack on our democracy.
And we want to introduce you to this man, Jared Wise, who was filmed screaming, "Kill them," at Capitol Police officers. The Trump administration liked him so much that they actually hired him. Wise is now part of the weaponization working group inside the Department of Justice. It is filled with conservative activists, and the group's goal is to carry out Trump's political grievances.
It gets even worse. Many of those who participated in the insurrection and were pardoned by Trump have subsequently been charged with serious crimes, including child molestation.
Over a dozen pardoned rioters are now in new legal trouble, and we have to add another name to that list. Andrew Paul Johnson was arrested on child molestation charges in November. According to a police report from Florida, Johnson tried to stop the child from saying anything. The report also says that Johnson promised to give some of his compensation money that he expected to get from the Trump administration because he stormed the Capitol.
We cannot let the history of the January 6th insurrection be written by its perpetrators. One of the most important voices in ensuring that the truth is told is Denver Riggleman, a former Republican congressman from Virginia who served as the senior technical advisor to the J6 committee. In part one of our conversation yesterday, Denver talked about the significance of digital forensics, the 30 million lines of information captured in text messages and metadata that expose just how deep the planning for the insurrection went and how the Trump White House was directly implicated. In part two, Denver and I talk about what ultimate accountability might look like and how even Democrats need to reframe their thinking about January 6th if we are to prevent it from happening again. Here's me and Denver Riggleman.
We were underfunded. The committee didn't understand this was a counterterrorism investigation. Yes, it was public trust, but we needed more professionals that actually did this for a living, like myself. But the other thing is that people didn't realize how absolutely important this information is. The data makes the best witness. Ones and zeros make the best witness. And to this day, even 5 years later, I think this should be taught in every school around the nation, every single counterterrorism course, every single law enforcement course, every single public safety course, every single public policy course. This should be taught because January 6th was as close as we've come in a long time to our country being no more. And it was that dire. And I think that's why Jack Smith's testimony was so powerful.
So many of the key players in that day, in the conspiracy leading up to it, and in the conspiracy, as you've described, to hide the more damning evidence, have escaped accountability. Even the foot soldiers on that day now have their pardons in hand. What do you think ultimate accountability might look like? Are we just left with the judgment of history? Can we count on anything more than that? Are people going to face consequences for trying to end the American experiment?
No. Not going to happen. Nobody's going to face consequences. And, I find it, it's one of those things that's very hard to live with as an American who took the oath like yourself, Ken. Somebody who saw the data, somebody who was stonewalled, even within the committee at times, not based, I don't think, on anything specific, but the fact is they just didn't have the ability to see, I think, how dire or how important the data was when they were too busy, wanting to do interviews. And interviews are important. But there were so many lies and misdirections in the interviews that it's hard. Again, we should have sat in on every single interview with every single person we had a phone number with. So the thing about Congress is this: it is the right place for certain types of investigation. But on this one, it was too much. It was too big. It was right to be in the hands of a Jack Smith and an FBI. But if Congress was going to do this the right way, they should have funded a team like myself at 10 to 11 times the original budget. And, to this day, it's something I should have pushed harder for. It's difficult at the time when you're in it to know what you need exactly. But I will tell you this, Ken, I'm frustrated, and I'm frustrated because there will be no accountability based on your, as your former question. It is only based on the American people understanding what happened and voting appropriately in the next elections. That's it. That's where we're at.
That's my fear as well, but it is some solace that the judgment of history, if people actually do read your book, if people actually do understand what happened that day, the judgment of history will be harsh. It will be unambiguous. By all indications, the Trump regime is imploding. Americans are beginning to have the scales fall off their eyes. And if we can't deliver a verdict in a courtroom, maybe
2026.
Maybe the voters will deliver a verdict and history will deliver its verdict. It's small comfort, but it is some comfort.
Well, I hope so. I almost wonder on January 6th if I should read all the Meadows texts for everybody again, Ken, and actually read them. And, and I've been concerned about it because I'm like, first, not concerned about what could happen to me. I mean, my God, but it's been insane, right? For 5 years, everything's out. Meadows texts have been released. I don't even know if people have gone back to read them, but I have all the context. Like I can actually identify each conspiracy theory as it's happening.
Hey everyone, it's Ken. Quick break for a shameless pitch for my Substack and Patreon pages. To all of you who have subscribed, thank you. Your support is what makes this show possible. Anytime you see in-person reporting, whether it's trips to Ukraine to show you what is really happening on the ground, or my recent conversations with Congressman Jason Crow and Senator Tammy Duckworth, where we got on-the-record commitments to back hearings into ICE's abuses of power.
People need to know that we're taking names.
All of this only happens with your support. Every dollar that comes in through Substack and Patreon goes back into this show. And with the holidays coming up, you can give gift subscriptions as well. The links are below. Thanks for everything. Your support means the world to me. Back to the show.
I can identify when Marjorie Taylor Greene actually turned from Antifa to, oh my God, it's us, and then trying to re-message it. I can go back to Jason Miller trying to come up with the Antifa message just around 3:30, 3:40 p.m. Eastern time lies. I can actually contextualize those messages. And I did it in the book. I thought this would, it's a New York Times bestseller. Wow. Big whoop, right? I think I would rather people go rent it at the library, borrow it from a friend. Just anything you can do. And then look at what those Meadows text messages said. Look what Jack Smith said in his 255-page deposition. I mean, that man's a hero. And so is so many people in the January 6th committee, but we needed law enforcement to follow through for us because we didn't have the necessary authorities to do it in Congress.
And they didn't. And what a just catastrophic miscalculation, error in judgment. It's hard to get inside the mind of Merrick Garland and others about why this wasn't taken more seriously. And that leads me to my final question, which is the most ominous one. January 6th, in a lot of ways, was a trial run, and the pardons of the Oath Keepers and 3 presenters and the insurgents was confirmation of that. Donald Trump signaling to his most violent, rabid supporters that if I need you again and you do the same thing again for me in 2028, I'll have your back. The pardons weren't smart politically. They weren't compassionate. It wasn't about justice. It was about creating a personal force of brown shirts.
It's almost like a Praetorian Guard, right? And I think the thing too that you think about going forward is that past performance is indicative of future performance. Yeah. We have to worry about 26 and 28. And the very people who were saying elections were stolen, the trap we can't fall into is being afraid when we see bad things happen, to say they are trying to steal the election based on the fact that they're trying to stop voter rolls, they're illegally seizing voter rolls, they're trying to intimidate people in the lines with Proud Boys and Oath Keepers with weapons, or people who are militants or conspiracy theorists standing there hoping illegals don't vote. All that stuff is going to happen. It's usually those people that are the most vicious in their conspiratorial thinking that are the ones trying to do exactly what they're accusing others of. And we can't fall into the trap of not being afraid to identify it when the data actually proves it.
Everything's projection these days, Denver. Great having you on, man. We'll put a link to the book in the show notes. And I have a feeling we're going to be doing this every year.
We should. You should never forget. And I can't imagine. You would think that the people that know the data that we would be calling, and Ken, just so appreciate you and the respect I have for you and what you've done, the things that we've done together when it comes to January 6th. But also, thank you for not having a pundit who knows nothing about January 6th on trying to talk about it. I do appreciate that.
You're welcome. Thanks, Denver.
Thanks, Ken.
Love this video? Support independent media and unlock exclusive content, ad-free videos, and custom emojis by becoming a paid member of our YouTube channel today. You can also gift memberships to others. Let's keep growing together.